Hey there, folks. My name is Kurn. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel in the first place if this is your first time here. This is episode, I want to say 12 of the Rootrees Are Dead, except I have unlocked Roottree Mania, and so we will continue with that. Let us just say that Guy Hudson, I have very bad words for him. I have bad words for Elias Hudson and Miracle, no, not Elias Hudson, Elias Roottree and Miracle Roottree as well. I hate everybody. So here we go. I've got my handy dandy notebook here. I don't remember where I was. It's been a couple days. Where were we? We locked in all of this. We locked in this, which was great. We're sure that that is Bess Williams. Okay, so Miracle has a kid, 2 kids, grandkids, and then a great grandkid. And meanwhile, over here, we've basically locked this in. So 1, 2, 3, we have like 4 locked in. So we need a 5th, and then that will lock in. So I guess we need to figure out what kid Bess Williams had. I am not certain we're going to find anything outside of Miami, Family Man, Boca Doral Library. Right, and we looked that up. I hate this saxophone, man. I'm so sorry. Okay. Miami Print Museum. The Miami Sunday. Oh. On a small website about quirky printing history facts that mentions the outcome of 2 smaller failing newspapers, 1 larger failing newspaper. Okay, so we can't look that up then. At first glance, doesn't seem related to your search in any way. Who's Marcia Barbin? Well, let's go to the public library. Whoops, that's not right. Marcia Barbin and Cuba by Cubans. On second glasses, still doesn't seem related to your search in any way. I gotta say, I think his name's Jeremy Jackson, whoever came up with this. Like, our sense of humor is like on the same wavelength. Oh my god, okay. So I'm gonna ignore that. Oh boy. What happens if I do look up the Miami Print Museum? Their hours and list of exhibits. Right, picture. Okay, so I think that's a dead end. Actually, I think I have that here, right? The best part is it's only 85 pages long. Okay, so we're gonna go for a hint. Yeah. Oh. I think a dipshit. Okay, so wow, we went super far back. The Miami Sunday then merged with the Miami Mercury Sunday. So what if I look up the Miami Mercury? There we go. Seems that at some point during this process, it was at least partially archived and available via your periodical search. Finally. Miami Mercury, and we're going to look up Bess Williams. The Miami Mercury had an article about the Bess Williams section in the Boca Doral Library, where it was being built in 1928. Mentions that Bess's young son... One moment. Bess son. Now, an orphan was in attendance during the dedication. It also had a later mention from 1949, the last year the paper existed, about a bidding war for a planned expansion of the library in 1950. The bidding was won by Wildcat Construction and included a new statue found in a second room that would double its shelf count. Wildcat Construction, here we go. Really? Horror. Okay. Wildcat Construction was mentioned once, blah, blah, blah. It was also mentioned earlier, 1947, under the headline Constructing a Better World. Frank Wildcat Williams. Yes, sir. Frank Williams left Florida in 1941 as a construction worker and returned a hero. He won the Navy Cross for his bravery and sacrifice, having carried a fellow soldier to safety under heavy... I don't really want to say that word, for the YouTube algorithm, fire. Now he and his wife, Ophelia, are carrying... are carrying his fellow soldiers through tough times at home. Wildcat Construction is Frank's company, focused on creating opportunities for soldiers finding difficulty getting back to normal. Ophelia has handled outreach to the wives of local veterans, who are often able to provide insight into their husbands' needs and conditions. She has, through such outreach, found 13 veterans of the war to serve as Frank's employees. The community support has been unending and overwhelmingly positive. It has gotten to the point where if Frank bids on a project, other local companies have decided to step back and let his soldiers handle it. This has become a bit of a sore spot for local politicians and business owners, as the bids are often not as low as they expected. The problem for them is that essentially Frank has a selective monopoly, but any attempt to circumvent it has caused an uproar and accusations of being un-American. It's uncertain what will become of Wildcat Construction, but at least for now, we're rooting for them. Okay, so we have Frank Williams and Ophelia. Fine. Wildcat Williams is listed on a few different military websites. He was awarded Navy Cross Medal in World War II. The story goes that even after being struck in the arm with a bullet, he managed to carry a fellow soldier through enemy territory on his shoulders for over 2 miles. He died in 1996 at age 74 in a retirement community in Sweetwater, Florida. An obituary on the website of a local news channel that was written by his surviving family also sheds light on some of his personal life. He grew up in an orphan because his family died in a hurricane when he was very young. He could barely remember his mother and had no memory of his father. Yeah, because his father was Elias Roottree. After the war, he ran a construction company that mainly hired World War II veterans. He did a lot of jobs in and around the greater Miami area. He was a born joker and a shining light to those veterans who needed it the most. An anecdote mentions that he used to insist he married his wife Ophelia as a matter of courtesy and convenience. She wouldn't have to change her last name. So her name is also Williams. It's hilarious. A photo is attached to Frank in his youth, juggling hammers in front of one of his construction sites, as he was often known to do. According to the article, he's survived by Ophelia, as well as his daughters, Barbara, and Sharon Williams. Okay. Okay, let's take a look at this guy. Okay, great. In front of the picture of, or the statue of his mom. Okay, we go here. So then this is this. His name is Frank Williams. And, I mean, he was retired. But before that, I guess he was a CEO. No? No construction. Okay. Cool. Nice. Locked in Infidelity 3. So we've got the Fords all taken care of. Booyah indeed. Oh, it's so nice to see so much yellow. What was this guy's name? I guess it wasn't Mark. Whatever. He's optional. I don't really care. Okay, she was Ophelia Williams, and Williams was her maiden name. Okay, well, let's go Google these ladies. Barb Williams is a motivational speaker, and she has a website that explains the services she offers. Her company's address is listed as in Coconut Grove, Florida. The flyer has been added to your evidence. Barb Williams advertises her career as a motivational speaker online. The flyer includes 3 different testimonials from Greta Jones from WQTV 12, Vic Elmsworth from the Kikawa Falls Gazette, and Isabel Crosby, the superintendent of Benton County. Overcoming adversity with Barb Williams. Her story will surprise you, uplift you, then energize you. A lesson that anyone can take something away from. An intimate evening with a truly wonderful message. Book Barb for corporate retreats, church events, or even school assemblies. She can customize her message for any audience. Okay, so now we have the Kikawa Falls Gazette, I presume, and the morning news. Or at least we can get there. Okay, so that's Barb. Let's look up Sharon. Really? Great. Okay. Isn't that it? Kikawa Falls Gazette? There's no Kikawa Falls anywhere in the world. You can find the closest thing to a Kikawa appears to be New Zealand. Oh. Instead, a man named Chris Elmsworth has invented a small town newspaper as a conceptual art piece. The Kikawa Falls Gazette is a series of online articles about small restaurants, shows, and other tourist attractions all across the United States. This is presented as a monthly newspaper of small town America. What makes the Kikawa Falls Gazette a bit strange is that amongst the articles detailing real locations are occasional stories that present outlandish and inflammatory concepts in extremely mundane ways. For example, on the homepage right now is an article entitled Mermaids Strike Back Against Lobster Farms that, using very dry language, details the idea that the mermaids in Maine have begun to unionize in support of, quote, better benefits. There are no punchlines, and the articles are not marked any differently from the rest. Unfortunately, each current issue of the paper is presented on the homepage. There are no archives of older issues. What in the heck? Fine. Let's look up Chris. That's it. Great. No. Okay, but he was one of the people. Oh, Vic Elmsworth. Interesting. Vic Elmsworth, according to his own personal page, is apparently one of 3 brothers. All 3 of them are contributors to a newspaper called the Kiowa Falls Gazette, and he tends to focus more on the southeastern United States. All of the articles he's written are archived on his site, including the long-form version of the review for Barb Williams' motivational show from 1997. According to Victor, he had seen Barb talk more than once. On this particular occasion, Barb's talk was at a very large church. It was clear that she was an expert at matching the presentation of her concepts for any particular crowd because she received a standing ovation. Barb started with a story about loss, specifically the loss of a bicyclist who'd been hit by a car. She spoke about the death of any person as a darkness in their loved ones, a cold, empty void that begins to creep into a space where there once was light. Because the light could never return exactly how it once was. She says the only option is to nurture new sources of light to help fight back the darkness. Her conclusion was that finding the hidden meanings in tragedy is the most important thing we can do. She used multiple biblical comparisons and finished by looping back around to her initial story and how she personally began to come around to this ideology. The biker who died was her son-in-law, and the Lanes Across America charity was created to fill the newfound darkness her daughter experienced. The charity, was the light that began to fill the void. She was doing everything she could to help nurture it. Okay, so Barb, with somebody, had a daughter, married to cyclist man, who then died. Let us look up Lanes Across America. Lanes Across America, or LAA, is a charity focused on adding bike lanes to major cities. Pages and pages of news articles that mention Lanes Across America have a similar summary in them. LAA, formerly LAM, was founded in 1987 after the death of Drew Smith. Drew Smith. Drew was biking home from work when he was hit by a car. Each year since, Lanes Across America has grown, and now they have offices in over 12 major metropolitan areas, including Miami, where the charity began. The website for the charity has a picture of Drew. The photo's been added to your evidence. Let's look at Lanes Across Miami. Whoops. Searching for Lanes Across Miami does narrow down the pages and pages of articles you found earlier to only those with a more in-depth history about the charity. You find some additional information. LAM was formed in 1987 and became LAA in 1994. It was founded by Sharon Smith after the death of her husband. Oh. Okay, hang on. Sharon and some other board members stepped down in 92, and current leadership took over. One of the oldest articles has a full uncropped version. Oh my god, saxophone. It seems that after Sharon left LAM, they began to crop her and the rest of her wedding party out of the photo to focus solely on Drew, who's the face of the charity. The full photo has now been added to your inventory. Okay, so when it says that Wildcat Williams is survived by his daughters. Oh, Barb and Did Barb also name her daughter Sharon? Or is like Sharon Barb's daughter? No, it's gotta be. I'm getting off track here. Okay. Let's see. He looks an awful lot like a Roottree, but I don't think he's supposed to be. Okay, these are like sisters, right? Drew Smith. Okay, let's look at the family tree. His dog. Oh. Oh. Okay. So they had a daughter, and that's Barb. And her last name is Williams. She is like a motivational speaker or something. I wouldn't call her a preacher. What would we call her? I would call her a motivational speaker. So... Buddy, I'll go back to the tree. Oh, public speaker. Okay. And then this is Sharon. I don't know if we're gonna have her actual name. Wait, what does she do? She stepped down. We don't really know what she does now. And his name was Drew. So his name is Andrew Smith. And we have his picture here. Well, we're getting there. Getting there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just have to fill these out. So she had 2 kids with Andrew. And then had another kid with somebody else. Let's see about Greta Jones. What's the thing? WQTV. Really? There we go. Greta Jones is the morning news anchor for a channel called the WQTV 12. They have no web presence whatsoever. You do find on a giant list of television call signs next to the city Springfield under the heading Effingham County. Well, we're going to say Georgia because it's right next to Florida. Okay. Okay. So it is Effingham County, Georgia. So what? Oh, okay. But like... There we go. The list seems to only feature broadcasts with female news anchors. Greta Flores. Greta Flores, aka Jones. Compared to the ordeal you've gone through to simply figure out her current name, it's way easier than you expected to find that she has a website of her accomplishments. She's apparently the MC for an all-female speaking tour in 1977. The tour was called Storytellers of Sisterhood, the Mothers and Daughters of Earth. You do a search for it, and it seems some of the stories were compiled into a book simply titled 25 Stories of Sisterhood by Ayla Hale. Okay. No, here. One of the stories by Barb Williams has been added to your evidence. Barb Williams had the transcript of the story she told on stage published in a book. First part of her story focuses on two 16-year-old girls. My sister, Sherry, was a brat. My daughter, Sharon. What? My sister and my daughter are the same girl. Oh! I met a boy at the county fair. Unlike us, he lived in the nice part of town. He went to the good school. To a teenage girl, it felt like a fairy tale. But there were boxes all over his house. He was moving in 3 days. Those 3 days were heaven to me. The final night, he surprised me. He told me he could actually see me again soon. He planned to return to visit his grandparents. I thought I was giving him a reason to keep his promise. I never saw him again, and when I finally got desperate enough to ask around, a friend of a friend told me he hadn't even given me his real last name. Barbara also talks about when she found out she was pregnant. I was convinced my life was over, but my parents, they took charge. I had to live at home and work a part-time job, but they removed the burden of motherhood. I managed to scrape out a degree in English, and as far as my daughter was concerned, I was her much older sister. Barb uses the story to come to a conclusion. When I was younger, I thought my sister was the brat, and I wasn't wrong, but she ran away from home to work at that animal shelter. She borrowed my clothes for presentations at schools, and her creativity allowed her to open up Sherry's hair. It took me far too long to realize the beauty was always there, too. In fact, the brat and the beauty exist in all of us. It was my inner brat that kept me blind to the truth. And I'd like to say it's the beauty in me that's finally able to see what I was missing. I implore you to call upon the beauties in yourself whenever the brat tries to take hold. Wow. Wow. Okay, so that... Okay, that makes sense. So that is her daughter with John Doe. Got it. So she is actually, we can tell now, a hairdresser. 1, 2... Oh, crap, we just have to do the whole damn thing. Okay, so... There's a Sherry's Hair in, oh my god, look at the name, in Orlando. The owner of the business is listed as Sherry Jastrzemski. Sherry has a large van and on weekends can bring you the style of Brittany, Christina, or even the Rachel. Thumbs up if you remember Jennifer Aniston as Rachel Green in Friends with that haircut. It was all the rage in the 90s. The About Sherry section is very, very long and presented as one paragraph with multiple run-on sentences and no pictures. You get the sense that if she were to do your hair, you'd be doing a lot of talking. She'd be doing a lot of talking. Mentions that her husband, Pete, was her late husband's college roommate. She and he had never spent any significant time together until she became a widow and they built a charity together. They left the charity behind because it was growing beyond their ability to run it. Yes, sir! Okay, so Pete... is Jastrzemski. And then they have Tony, Mark, and Cricket. Her oldest, Tony, seems to get the short end of the stick. His 2 listed accomplishments are that he's the oldest and he's a straight-A student. Mark, on the other hand, has multiple baseball accomplishments listed. Apparently, his Little League team is nationally recognized. Cricket York is near the end and has an entire section dedicated to her. She's an actress on a local television show called Library. The reason Sherry relocated from Miami to Orlando, Sherry, in addition to being hireable to come do your due, is a stylist for the show. The passage also mentions that her agent recommended they change her last name to York since it was easier to pronounce. Okay. So we have Cricket, who is the oldest. I don't know if that's her actual name. Mark. And, oh, no, so Tony's the oldest. He's got to be in college then, right? And then, I guess Mark and Cricket. Let's do a Cricket. Let's do a quick search on Cricket. Cricket York. Library is the children's show, blah, blah, blah. Different animal puppets. Sounds a lot like Mr. Rogers, which is great. Give me a thumbs up if you like Mr. Rogers. Go on. Give me a like. Give me a like. Thank you. I appreciate it. Unlike some other popular shows involving non-human performers, this one isn't funded by the public. Instead, it's paid for by donations from businesses related to education. This includes textbook manufacturers like Arithmetic, tutoring companies such as Educate2U, and a few well-known publishers of picture books. From what you can tell, it's syndicated in a few markets across the southern U.S. and in New Hampshire for some reason. Like most other children's entertainment, many of those that grew up with it tend to have fond memories. That works in your favor because the show has been documented by a few fan sites. There's even a library web ring, although it only has 3 entries. Give me a like if you ever followed through like an actual web ring. If you arrived on a website and there was a web ring and you clicked through to see other websites on that topic, give me a like. Thank you. You click through the sites in the ring and find that Cricket York joined the cast in 1997 at the age of 5. 5! So she's 5. She was 5 then, so now she's 7. She's younger than my nephew. And it's still listed as current cast member. Yes, we have a picture. Oh my gosh. Okay, okay, so this... Okay. So this is Peter. And this is Cricket, which has got to be Christine. We have a picture of her. And she is, I mean, she's also an actor, but she's also a student, I presume. And then her eldest, we don't have a picture. His name is Tony or Anthony. It looks like it's Anthony. And his last name would be Smith. Wait, we think he's college. And then there's Mark. Mark Smith. I presume he's a student. Like K-12. Could be wrong. Let's go look them up. So Cricket is in the bag. Tony Smith. Anthony Smith. Let's look up Isabel Crosby for fun. Yo. Isabel Crosby. Oh, okay. Okay. Kurn is math textbook publishing company. They were in the news last year when a primetime news program did a full comparison of their 4th edition textbooks from 96 and their 5th edition from 1998. Schools were complaining that the two editions seemed remarkably similar, yet Kurmethik, wow, I've been pronouncing this wrong, was charging almost double for the newer edition than they had for the previous one. The news program announced that between the two books there were only 16 total changes. The most noticeable was that the cover was changed from a picture of a water droplet creating concentric rings on a lake to a close-up of a feather. The other were all instances of changing 4th to 5th. This even led to a geometry problem where the book asked students to calculate the 5th side of the rectangle. Oy, okay. Okay, Educate to You. It's a tutoring service. They have a deal with the library. It's in the with the show. According to the site, they actually provide tutoring for all of the actors and actresses. Cricket York. Cricket and her brothers. Very good. You don't find much else about Educate to You, except there seems to be a small subsection of library fans who were deeply unsettled by the company's logo, which would appear after the credits on each episode. One writes, I was terrified of the little girl in the Educate to You logo. She looked like some kind of demon doll. I'd race to the TV every day to switch the dial before a creepy laugh came on. Yeah, that sounds creepy. Aw, aren't they cute? That logo, if that's the logo they're talking about, yeah, that's creepy. Okay, so he's not in college. He's in high school. Have I not done that properly? Maybe that's the right picture. Maybe Christine isn't her name. Oh, Cricket's actually there. I'm silly. Okay, we've done it. Wow. So these are all Elias's kids. Well, here we go.
Hi again. I know you probably thought you were done.
Oh, God.
But it turns out what you're doing here might have some pretty major repercussions on the family tree.
You think?
Again.
You think?
Also, there's something really strange happening.
Oh, no.
I can't explain it.
Neither of us can.
Oh, God, what now?
I'd call it a simple misunderstanding, but it's digging at the pit of my stomach. I just have a feeling. Clark?
Is this going to be about the Anonymom? Because I'm sure that they are related.
Last week, let's just say being the president, sometimes people bring me things.
Just skip to the important part.
Right. One of our janitors brought me some hair she'd found in Ruby Spratt's trash. It was Bonnie Hudson's.
What? Hang on. Bonnie Hudson's hair. Bonnie Hudson was the wife of Guy?
Bonnie is Guy's sister.
Oh,
She
right.
her hair to test potential root trees, since her DNA is closest to Guy's.
Fair.
But Ruby threw it out, and I wasn't sure why she would have done that. Especially right before we began testing the tree you provided. When I asked, she told me she thought the samples needed to be fresh every
good
time
God.
we did a test.
It seems really odd. Ruby was the one who convinced us to do DNA testing in the first place. She seemed so knowledgeable. I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
You've done more of a deep dive on these people than anybody else has. Clark will keep a closer eye on the DNA tests from now on.
From now on, are there more?
You have an eye for anomalies. We need you to find the smoking guns.
If there's anyone you're 100% positive can't be a Roottree,
Or any you've got definitive evidence are Roottrees,
So many of them are.
then we might be able to catch Ruby in a lie.
The hell does that mean? You could verify which people in the dot boxes are almost certainly legit. Okay. Possible that some of her behaviors have also been... New section of the tree's been added for you to fill in. Oh, this is the top secret stuff. Oh boy. Okay. This is definitely a Roottree. Yes. Now, he looks just like frickin' Miracle and Miracle Jr. I don't know about him. But I'm gonna say... haven't found this clue yet. That's interesting. Very interesting. Well, we already know he is. Why am I missing things? I mean, he's a Roottree. Found 3 of 3. Yes. And then her twin sister must be as well. Okay. How many do I have to... That's not what I want to look at. No, that's not what I wanted to look at either. I mean, we think he is, but I haven't found all of the smoking guns yet. But I'm sure he is. Plus, the DNA proved that he was. 4 out of 5 clues. 4 out of 5 clues. See, the thing about that, I think it would be him and not him. Like, he squints his eyes when he smiles, and so does this guy. That guy isn't smiling so much, but... I'm pretty sure she is a Roottree, but I haven't found all the clues yet, apparently. Huh. Okay. 8 possible Roottrees left to identify. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, but like I think I need evidence here. Let's look up James and Robert Garland. Ugh. Come on, man. Okay. Right, this one. Okay. Okay. Let's look at the papers. So she did not work there at the same time as Joanna. Joanna Fellows are no longer employed by Roottree. Okay, so Beatrice Watts or Kurn Schwartz. Wow. Okay. There's more, I guess, maybe. Neither of them are employed by Roottree any longer. Okay. Really? Kurn Schwartz comes up in a few articles from local news stations in Pennsylvania. Some of the people attempting to track down Anonymom were harassing her. She recently had to take a leave of absence because people showed up at the car dealership. Where she works. She's begging people to stop the accusations so that she can get back to a normal life. In every article you find, the journalists involved have independently verified that she is not Anonymom. I have no idea. Okay, so Piketty. What if I type in anonymom? Piketty is not afraid to expose details that other publications would shy away from, though when it comes to Anonymom and Jane Doe, they were a little late to the punch. For a month after the announcement that Jane Doe Roottree was not a Roottree, Piketty exposed personal details about the story of Anonymom under the headline, Anonymom the Anonicon. They said Anonymom worked as a manager at a department store in North Carolina, and her daughter's name was Courtney May. They also said the woman that vouched for her famous cover story that they didn't identify news time, perhaps to avoid being sued, is named Kurn S, and that she had filed for bankruptcy. The article speculates that Anonymom and Corinne were in on it together, and even speculates that they might have been lovers. Piketty is not a credible publication. Their timing was poor, and their information wasn't particularly actionable. By the time this article was published, very few people seemed to notice or care. Okay. Manager. Courtney May. So Corinne S is Corinne Schwartz. For sure. And if it's not Beatrice Watts, they were hired, they are no longer employed. They were when did they get fired? 1980. Okay. So we could look up Juliet McCullen and Doris Mays, as well as Lisa Lewis and Valerie Ewing. Give me a like if you like Dallas and the Ewings. Give me a subscribe if you know who killed JR. If you even know what I'm talking about. But you probably don't, because you're probably not as old as I am. And that's okay. Juliet McCullen. Doris Mays. Lisa Lewis. Valerie Ewing. What if I type in J.R. Ewing? No. John Ross Ewing? All right. Rats. Okay, so what if we look up Courtney May? Come on. I mean, it's Beatrice Watts, right? Okay, I'm just gonna say that, yeah, it's... What's her name? Not that I have a photo. She's a manager. a department store. So she's in retail. Her daughter. Again, I don't think we have a photo. Their daughter is Courtney May. Watts. Wow, I have not found a lot of clues. See, this all depends on the timing. I think James is and Robert isn't. I think. He looks just like Miracle. He has to be. Need a New Orleans news outlet. Wow. Courtney May Watts. There we go. Courtney May is a simple website with black text on a white background and a few images. From the view counter, you can tell you're one of only a few hundred people who has visited it. She's not shy about claiming she is Jane Doe Roottree. As proof, she has posted an unobscured cover from the time she was featured on Newstime, as well as a different picture of herself that appears to be a wedding photo. The website seems to be created in defense of her mother, who has been the target of public scrutiny. Newton. Under the headline, The True Story of Jane Doe Roottree, courtesy of Courtney May Newton, formerly Watts. Everyone has everything wrong. My mom approached the Roottrees before 5Ps was ever on the cover of Newstime. Nobody at the Roottree company took us seriously. They only listened to us after we appeared on TV and in magazines. The site has a scan letter from the Ruby Legal Group to Courtney May's mother, Beatrice. In very polite legal terms, it seems to accuse her of exploiting their name and orders her to leave the Roottrees alone. It's dated from a few weeks before the 5Ps article appeared in Newstime, and it seems legitimate. Courtney May also discusses her mother's magazine featured in more detail. Do you know how difficult it was to convince anyone to tell her story? My mom didn't want to show her face because everyone in the media we approached assumed she was lying, because her story was just like 5Ps, but my mom's story was first. Interesting. Mom was advised by Ryan and Cork, I don't know who they are, to tell Newstime that seeing 5Ps on the cover was what inspired her to go public. That's the only way Newstime would agree to it and help bring it on TV, but it's not true. Our story was first. Courtney's defense continues, but much of it seems repetitive and useless. Towards the end of her page, she discusses the DNA test and defends her mother's character. My mom is amazing. She's the nicest woman in the world. She has diabetes, works at a department store, but still managed to help pay for my apartment in the big city so I could stay with my high school sweetheart. I got a degree in nursing. So I learned about DNA in college, but I'm beginning to think it's all a lie. Mom is 100% confident that there's nobody else who could be the father. Either they did the test wrong, or DNA is complete BS. She is not a liar. Well, that's gotten interesting real quick. Oh, that's cute. So, Danny Newton. So now I'm thinking that Ruby's in on it and 5Ps is not a fucking Roottree. Pardon my French. Oh no, where's her mom? That's her mom. And then she's a nurse. She's married to Danny Newton. That's her? Where'd that picture come from? Oh. I'm so smart. SM Marty. He looks like a friggin' Roottree. Four possible Roottrees left to identify. 1, 2. Who else? I go on a limb and say he is. I go out on a limb. If he was a basket baby. She adopted 2 children, Stuart and Mark, but Stuart is the spitting image of Miracle. Under unusual circumstances. I don't know, man. He looks like Miracle, he doesn't. So I'm going to say that no, he is not. I think I've screwed that up, though. How do I still have 2 Roottrees? No, we've been playing for an hour. So we'll do this real quick. Brian. Work. The thing about 5Ps that gets me, though, is that the timing would be perfect if he lied about his age. I'm really getting annoyed by that. It's gonna bug me. I feel like they're all Roottrees. I mean, they can't all be Roottrees, right? Yeah, Ruby's up to something. Ugh. Really? I have to use and? You jerk. Winston, Ryan, and Gregory. Quark. It lists that DNA from a Jane Doe was tested against the DNA of Bonnie Kellogg, née Hudson, Guy's twin sister. Fun fact, twins are not, like, who aren't identical, don't have identical DNA. They are fraternal twins because it's a boy and a girl. So they are just like any other sibling. But I think he only had Bonnie as a sibling. Ryan and Quark have confirmed that the sample they sent to the Rootrees was definitely Courtney May's hair. DNA Techo. Adrian Rowland. Write that down too. Okay. DNA Techo. Cannot search from here. Yeah. Dynatico is a DNA testing company. DNA testing is a relatively new phenomenon that I guess that's true, that allows scientific laboratories to prove a possible family relationship between two people. It's fairly cutting edge. The method by which they test samples has only become standard in the last decade as of the early 90s. According to their site, Dynatico was responsible for the DNA test that proved Felix Fellows was a Roottree, and even use it as an example of how a DNA test looks. They use it to provide some information about their process. Whenever they take a sample in person, they put the name of the person on the test according to their legal ID, which is why it says David instead of Felix. Because Guy Hudson is dead, there's no known DNA source for Guy. They tested Felix's hair versus his hair sample sent from the Rootrees. It's listed as Jane Doe because it wasn't collected in person, but the Roottree company let them know it's from Bonnie Kellogg, Guy Hudson's sister. This is why it says a paternal aunt test. The left and right sets of numbers are essentially signatures that perfectly match the DNA of the two people in question, nobody else. The way the test works is that if certain parts of the signature are shared, it's very likely two people are related. As far as you can tell, Dynatico is a legitimate company. They don't seem to have any reason to create fake results or hide the truth. Same guy. Adrian Rowland. Fourteen, 12, 13, 7, 8. 14, 12, 13, 7, 8. 14, 12, 13, 7, 8. Ah, that's different. That's very different. We're looking up Adrian Roland. Because I think he's faking it. Is that not how he always spells his name? Adrian Roland, PhD. Oh, it's that bloody saxophone again. PhD. Okay, then it's Ruby who's screwing it up. But these samples do not match. Because this is very different. That is very different from this. Now, what I know about DNA is a little bit. 31, 01, 20, and 30. 31, oh. So these came before. Interesting. This alleged paternal aunt, I think, is actually his mother. Because, like, half of these are correct. An aunt should only be related 25% with their niece or nephew. I know this because I'm an aunt. So, like, if I share 50% of my DNA with my brother, or close to it, then he passes 50% of that down to his kid. So I now have 25% at most DNA in common with my nephew. So I think that this is forged. I think that's actually his mother. But we've run way over. We're at like 113, well, almost 114. So thank you for watching. Tune in next time for what I hope to be the exciting finale of The Roottrees Are Dead. Don't forget to give me a like if you remember any of the old stuff I was talking about. If you remember the show Dallas with J.R. Ewing, if you know who shot J.R. and why that was a big thing, give me a like, give me a subscribe. Thanks so much, guys. I'll see you in the next one.